Assalamu alaikum all. Thank you for joining my presentation. My name's Gemma. I am the founder of the Halal Animal Welfare Association. So my background is predominantly in livestock sciences and welfare, which includes meat quality and texture along the supply chain. So I'm going to present to you the presentation High Quality Meat Consumption to Enhance Nutrition, Performance and Wellbeing. So outside of my academics and other work, I partake in CrossFit and a lot of high intensity workout, and it's really important that we have the right diet while undertaking that kind of exercise. Even if you're not doing anything as strenuous as that, it is important to take a look at our diet from a halal and tayyib perspective. So yeah, the presentation will explore the benefits of high quality meat consumption and performance. There is a pressing emphasis here on the importance of evidence-based nutrition aligned with athletic performance and research, especially with the rise in the vegan and the plant-based alternatives. There's a lot of research about whether they're actually more beneficial for us, or if we still need the use of those proteins in the meat consumption as well alongside that. So understanding high quality meat. By definition, high quality is known that meat that is grass-fed, organic, free from like hormone use or antibiotics, and with minimal processing. There are production methods that do require the use of antibiotics, but we're slowly moving away from that. Generally, there is a difference between processed and unprocessed meats. So processed meats usually contain a lot more preservatives to keep them having a longer shelf life, or it could be that they've added other ingredients into them to make a product, and the meat is a smaller part than we would maybe like of that product. But there may be other nitrates or other substances that can lead to like a negative outcome on health overall if we consume a lot of that. So the way the animal digests and converts the food directly impacts like the nutritional quality of the meat as well, which is something I'm going to go into. Generally, animals that consume what we know as a natural diet, such as cows that forage, or like chickens as well, they also forage for small bugs. This has more of an effect and like a healthier metabolic process, leading to better meat quality overall. So how the feed impacts the animal meat quality. So generally the digestion and fatty acid conversion. So for ruminants, being your cows, sheep, deer, these are generally grass-fed animals, and they have multi-chamber stomachs, or especially in the case of the cow, that ferment that fibrous plant material, something that we can't break down as humans. This process kind of helps the promotion of those omega-3 fatty acids, which are really good for us, and the CLAs as well as antioxidants. So for example, a grass-fed beef has up to 5 times more of these benefits than grain-fed beef due to the natural digestion. There are some instances where a cow will need to be raised on concentrates and not out in the fields, such as bad weather, for example. But there are ways that we can get silage or grass to those animals still, even when they're housed inside. So for your monogastric animals, for example chickens, if they eat a diverse and natural diet, they have a better nutrition absorption and a healthier fat composition within them. So when they're fed soy or like processed grains, their fat becomes higher in like an inflammatory omega-6s, which has lower micronutrients. For example, if a pasture-raised chicken produce eggs and meat, they have more vitamin A, E and those omega-3 than the factory farm chickens. Some studies will show that the differences are not huge. There is a difference, but not a huge amount. But again, this is research that could be done more and more in depth. But generally, overall, some of those vitamin levels are quite a bit higher. So nutrient absorption and antioxidant production. Natural diets contain more diverse plant compounds, which are absorbed and stored within the meat. It's their natural diet, that's what they graze on, so it's able to actually be stored at the muscle level for the meat consumption. These also act as antioxidants, so they reduce oxidative stress in the animal and improve vitamin and mineral content within the meat. So all the way throughout the animal's life until we actually slaughter the animal and have the meat on our plates, or before we cook it, there are more of these vitamin and mineral content. It will also have an effect on the texture of the meat as well. Grain-fed animals can lack these plant-based compounds, which can lead to lower levels of antioxidants in the meat. For example, grass-fed beef contains higher levels of vitamin E, as I said previously. Vitamin E is a natural preservative that keeps meat fresh for longer. So generally these animals fed on this diet, unless we package them specifically, we create different packaging to keep a longer shelf life, but this is more of what happens naturally within the meat if it's got a higher vitamin E, not as long as if we keep it in our packets that we design, but it definitely improves it. So stress, hormones and toxins. So animals that eat natural diets and express their normal behaviours, so for example being able to graze, rooting and pecking for chickens, they experience less stress. Okay, so looking at those 5 animal welfare needs, which most of our animal welfare policies will follow, taking in consideration their behaviour, this can lead to lower cortisol, the stress hormones in the meat. This has less acid build-up in the muscles, preventing tough meat and improving the tenderness of the muscle, and has fewer stored toxins from artificial additives and feeds, and like antibiotic residues as well. So actually, I did an experiment with some students a few months ago where I got a piece of factory farm chicken, I got some free range, and I got some organic. I didn't tell them which one was which, and they had a look at the meat quality, the colour, the texture, the smell, the size, and I asked them to guess which production system they came from, and those that guessed it correctly, the chicken that came from the organic farm, the meat was very soft, it was slightly pink, it had a nice texture, and that's because those stress and hormone levels hadn't been built up within that meat. So yeah, your factory farm animals often store that excess stress and hormones. This leads to that lower quality of meat. Sometimes the factory farmed chicken will have like a glass texture. So nutritional profile of high quality meat. So macronutrients. So protein we need is essential for muscle synthesis and maintenance. So when we do high intensity workouts, or even if you don't go high intensity, just the workouts in general, protein is very important for us. Having healthy fats, so omega-3 fatty acids found in grass-fed beef and wild-caught fish, for example, really good macronutrients. Your micronutrients, so things like iron, which is crucial for oxygen transport around the body and maintaining hemoglobin. B vitamins, which are essential for energy metabolism, and zinc, which is important for immune function and muscle recovery. So when you're working out, it's important to focus on those micronutrients as well as macro, because recovery is just as important as the workout itself. there's no point us doing these high intensity workouts to build muscle if we're actually damaging ourselves and taking a long time to recover. A comparison with plant-based protein sources. So meat provides complete proteins of all essential amino acids, whereas most plant-based sources lack one or more of the essential amino acids they have found. So the protein benefits for muscle growth and recovery, which of course is important for our working out at the gym. That's what we're there for muscle growth, for ligament strength. But we need that recovery as well. So the role of protein in muscle repair and hypertrophy. So protein intake supports the muscle protein synthesis itself, especially post-exercise. A lot of gym goers will drink protein shakes as a quick way to get a lot of protein. This is of course relative to your body weight and the kind of workout that you're doing and your age. We all metabolize things differently. So for athletes, let me bring these up for you so you can see. Animal proteins contain all the essential amino acids for optimal ratios for muscle growth. Often athletes will have a specific diet plan of set meals that they eat. Your amino acid profile is important. So essential amino acids, especially leucine, stimulate muscle protein synthesis as well. Your recommended intake will differ depending on your age and your life stage. So athletes should consume 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily. This would be lower in obviously your average gym goer, but should be increased as intensity of workout does. Personally, I am a small person. Yes, I do high intensity workouts, but I wouldn't consider myself an athlete. So I probably would consume on the lower end of that protein intake because of my body weight and mass. But those that are doing high intensity workouts and are of a larger size, especially men versus female, you will have a different protein intake. So iron and its impact on performance. So there's different types of iron. You've got your heme iron. This is really important for like oxygen processing around the body, and keeping high levels of hemoglobin and those red blood cells. So it will iron does actually play a part in transporting energy and oxygen around the body. We can't live without it. There are risks with iron deficiencies, so things like fatigue, reduced aerobic activity and impaired cognitive function. This is especially prevalent in women, women who are of childbearing age or have had children. I suffer from low iron levels myself. So it's really important to monitor those levels because you can become quite unwell and quite seriously unwell very quickly. So to find this good iron quality is to actually find it in your meat sources as well, combined with your leafy greens like spinach and broccoli. Also iron can't be something that I struggle with is I do eat a lot of red meat and I do eat a lot of greens, but I don't have a lot of vitamin C. So vitamin C is actually vital for the intake of iron. So sometimes we can actually overload ourselves with iron because we want it for our workouts and our hemoglobin alongside our protein. But if you're not actually taking in the iron and absorbing it, it's just kind of having a negative effect on your body. So it's important to have your vitamin C as well to help absorb it into the blood. So meat's contribution to your overall health. It helps with heart health. So recent studies suggest that unprocessed red meat in moderate amounts does not increase cardiovascular risk. There was some articles going around about red meat being bad for you. This is not necessarily the case. It was more to do with the processing and how it was cooked. So the smoking or the over singeing or burning or barbecuing of red meat could potentially cause cancerous cells, but Those myths are starting to be dispelled now. As long as we eat high quality unprocessed meat. Also, omega-3 fatty acids and grass-fed beef contribute to reduced inflammation as well. Your brain function is affected by B vitamins and omega-3s, so that cognitive health and neurological function, and your immune system support. So zinc and selenium in meat help support immune defense and mechanisms, which also crucial. So when you're recovering from a workout, sometimes if I haven't had enough protein or iron, I start to feel unwell, like I'm catching some sort of flu or something. That's because my body is starting to increase an immune response, like I'm unwell and it's trying to fight some sort of disease, when actually it's not. It's just that I haven't got the right vitamin balance for that intense workout that I've just done. Okay, so having good quality meat will help with this. So this is specific for CrossFit and high intensity nutrition. So energy demands of CrossFit requires a balance of strength, endurance and recovery. That optimal pre and post workout meals. So pre-workout, you want your lean protein with complex carbs, for example chicken with quinoa, and post-workout high quality protein with fast digesting carbs, so maybe like steak with sweet potato. Eggs as well is a great thing to eat post-workout. Meal planning, generally balanced macros and adequate hydration, and those micronutrient rich foods support recovery and performance. So I personally don't meal plan, but someone who maybe is a bit more intense with their workout than myself, or is an athlete, they generally will have a calculated meal plan. So addressing those concerns and myths, environmental impact and sustainability. So sustainable farming practices and regenerative agriculture can mitigate the carbon footprint in meat production. I know cows are still being blamed for the gases in the air, but actually if we can offset that with some sustainable farming and actually carbon capture in our soils, then we can reverse some of that damage. And actually having cattle grazing on grass is actually a natural process, because they help to regenerate some of the soils in the grass, as long as we rotate the grazing. Balancing meat consumption with plant-based food. So a mixed diet provides optimal nutrition, incorporating fibre as well, alongside that animal protein. So we have to remember that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was a semi-vegetarian. He only ate meat as a luxury, which was of a higher quality of meat. There wasn't the factory farming back then. So in modern day, we need to be willing really to pay that higher price for good quality meat. There's no point us just consuming loads of low quality meat that's very, very cheap if it's not nutritionally balancing our diets. And of course, animal welfare is being affected as well as our environment sustainability. So the health risks that came out about red meat. So high quality unprocessed meat differs from processed meat and its impact. So we want to be eating your free range, your organic meats, and avoiding the processed meats as much as possible. So just a key takeaway. So high quality meat is a valuable source of protein, iron and essential nutrients. Having a well-balanced diet can enhance your athletic performance, particularly if you're doing something high intensity like CrossFit. So emphasising that moderation and high quality meat. So not just continuously consuming loads and loads of low quality cheap meat. In fact, we should actually be eating less meat, but a really high quality, to get that nutritional balance. I hope you find that informative. If you'd like to know a little bit more about how animals actually feed into meat and about meat quality and what we buy on our shelves, then feel free to contact me on these contact details.